The sirens had stopped 3 hours ago. The silence that followed was worse than the screaming alarms. It was the kind of silence that told you everyone was gone. Everyone had left. The world was empty now. Corporal Park Do-Yun walked slowly through the abandoned streets of the Valari colony. His boots made loud sounds on the broken ground. Glass crunched under his feet. Doors hung open on empty buildings. Toys lay scattered in the streets where children had dropped them while running to the transport ships. Thought the evacuation had been fast. Too fast. The Keth swarm was coming, and when the Keth came, nothing survived. They were like a wave of hungry insects, billions of them, each one small, but together they could eat an entire planet. They had destroyed 17 worlds already. Horizon 7 would be the 18th. Du-Hyan was part of the 42nd Terran Expeditionary Force. His job had been simple. Help the Valari people get to their transport ships. Make sure no one was left behind. Then leave on the last military transport before the swarm arrived. The job was done. All the Valari were gone. All the humans were gone. The last transport was waiting for him at Extraction Point, Delta. He had 40 minutes to get there, but his scanner was showing something strange. One life sign. Small, weak, coming from a building 2 streets away. Do-Hyun stopped walking. He looked at the scanner again. The reading was clear. Something alive was still in the colony. Something had been left behind. He should go to the extraction point. Those were his orders. The transport would not wait forever. If he missed it, he would be alone on this planet when the Keth arrived. He would die here. But that life sign was so small, so weak. Do-Hyun started walking toward it. The building was a nursery. The sign above the door showed a picture of young Valari cubs playing together. The Valari were a beautiful species. They looked like cats in some ways, with soft fur and rounded ears and long tails. But they walked on 2 legs like humans, and they had 3 eyes instead of 2. Their fur came in many colors, from deep blue to silver to purple. The nursery was destroyed inside. Cribs were knocked over. Blankets were thrown everywhere. The Valari parents had grabbed their children and run. They had run so fast, but someone had missed one. Do-Hyun found the cub under an overturned crib in the corner of the room. It was small, maybe the size of a human 3-year-old. Its fur was silver blue, soft and fluffy. Its 3 eyes were wide with fear, looking up at him like he was a monster. The cub pressed itself against the wall. It was shaking so hard that Do-Hyun could see its whole body trembling. He put down his rifle. He took off his helmet so the cub could see his face. Then he got down on his knees, making himself smaller, less scary. "Hey there, little one," he said softly. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The cub made a sound. It was something between a bird's chirp and a sad cry. The sound broke Do-Hyun's heart. "Where's your family?" he asked, even though he knew the cub probably could not understand him. "Where's your mother?" The cub just stared at him. Its ears were pressed flat against its head. This was how Valari showed fear. This little one was terrified. Do-Hyun's communicator made a noise. A voice came through, sharp and clear. "Corporal Park, the final transport leaves in 40 minutes. Report to Extraction Point Delta immediately." He looked at the cub. Then he pressed the button on his communicator. "Command, I found a Valari child here. A young one. It was left behind during the evacuation. I need a delayed extraction. I need someone to come get this child." He waited. The silence lasted a long time. "Negative, Corporal. There are no resources available for secondary extraction. Proceed to Extraction Point Delta. That is an order." Do-Hyun felt something cold in his stomach. "Command, this is a child. A baby. I can't just leave it here to die. The evacuation is complete, Corporal. All Valari civilians have been accounted for. Then your count is wrong. I'm looking at one right now. More silence. Then the voice came back, hotter this time. Corporal Park, you have your orders. Proceed to Delta, now. The cub reached out one tiny paw. It touched Do-hyun's armored glove. The touch was so light, so gentle. The cub was still shaking, but it was reaching out to him. It was asking for help. Do-hyun closed his eyes. He thought about his sister back on Earth. She had a baby boy, just 8 months old. Do-hyun had held that baby before he shipped out to this mission. He remembered how small the baby felt in his arms. How trusting. This cub was someone's baby too. Somewhere out there, a Valari mother was on a transport ship, probably screaming, probably crying, because she had lost her child in the chaos. He opened his eyes and looked at the cub. I'm not leaving you, he said. Then he pressed his communicator again. Command, I am staying with the civilian until alternate extraction can be arranged. I will not leave a child to die. The voice on the other end was angry now. Corporal, that is a direct violation of... Do-hyun turned off his communicator. The silence came back. But this time, it did not feel so empty. He was not alone anymore. Okay, little one, he said to the cub. It's just you and me now. We're gonna figure this out together. The cub did not understand his words, but it seemed to understand his voice. Slowly, carefully, it crawled out from under the broken crib. It moved toward him on shaky legs, still trembling, still scared. Do-hyun held out his hands. The cub looked at them for a long moment. Then it climbed into his arms. It weighed almost nothing. Its fur was soft against his skin. He could feel its heart beating fast, like a tiny drum. I've got you, Do-hyun whispered. I've got you. He stood up carefully, holding the cub against his chest. He grabbed his rifle with one hand. Then he walked out of the nursery and into the empty street. The transport was gone now. He had missed it. He was alone on a planet that would be destroyed in less than 18 hours. No, not alone. He had this little one. Do-hyun looked up at the sky. Somewhere up there, the Keth swarm was coming. Millions and millions of hungry creatures, ready to consume everything on this world. He looked down at the cub in his arms. It had stopped shaking. It was looking up at him with those 3 strange, beautiful eyes. We need to find somewhere safe, Do-hyun said. Somewhere to hide. And food. You need to eat, right? Little ones always need to eat. The cub made that chirping sound again. But this time, it did not sound so sad. Do-hyun started walking. He did not know where he was going. He did not know how he would survive. He did not know if anyone would come to save them. But he knew one thing for certain. He was not going to let this cub die. He was going to protect it. He was going to keep it safe. That was what humans did. They protected the ones who could not protect themselves, even if it cost them everything. The first night was the hardest thing Do-hyun had ever lived through. He carried the cub through the empty streets of the colony for hours. The little one clung to his shoulder, its small claws digging into the fabric of his uniform. It was still scared. Every noise made it jump. Every shadow made it whimper. Do-hyun needed to find shelter. Not just any shelter. He needed somewhere the Keth could not find them. Somewhere with thick walls. Somewhere with food and water. Somewhere they could hide until help came. If help came, he pushed that thought away. He could not think like that. He had to believe someone would come for them. He had to believe they would survive. The Valari colony was a beautiful place, even now when it was empty and broken. The buildings were made of white stone that glowed softly in the fading light. Gardens grew on every corner, full of strange flowers that Do-hyun did not recognize. The Valari loved beauty. They loved peace. They had built this colony as a place of learning and art. Now it was a ghost town. A place waiting to die. Duhayan found what he was looking for near the center of the colony. It was a community center, a large building where Valari families used to gather for celebrations and meetings. More importantly, it had a basement. A deep basement with reinforced walls, built to protect against storms and earthquakes. It would have to do. He carried the cub down the stairs into the darkness. His flashlight cut through the black, showing him rows of storage containers and emergency supplies. The Valari had prepared for disasters. They just had not prepared for one this big. Do-hyun set the cub down gently on a pile of soft blankets he found in one of the containers. The little one immediately tried to climb back into his arms. Hey, he said softly. It's okay. I'm not going anywhere. I just need to set up some things to keep us safe. The cub did not understand his words, but it seemed to understand that he was not leaving. It sat on the blankets and watched him with those 3 big eyes as he worked. First, he sealed the entrance. He pushed heavy containers against the door and used emergency foam to block any gaps. The Keth could not smell through walls, but they could find tiny holes and cracks. He had to make sure there were none. Next, he set up motion sensors at every possible entry point. If anything tried to get in, he would know. He would have time to prepare. Then he looked for food. The storage containers were full of Valari supplies. His translator device helped him read the labels. He found water purification tablets. He found emergency rations. And he found something labeled as nutrient paste for young cubs. The cub was watching him when he brought the food over. Its ears were not so flat anymore. It looked curious now, not just scared. Are you hungry? Do-hyun asked. He opened the nutrient paste and held it out. The cub sniffed it. Then it looked at him like it was asking for permission. Go ahead. It's for you. The cub started eating. It ate quickly, desperately, like it had not eaten in a long time. Do-hyun realized that it probably had not. The evacuation had been so fast. This little one had been hiding under that crib for hours, maybe longer, alone and hungry and terrified. His heart hurt thinking about it. When the cub finished eating, it looked up at him again. There was a small device clipped to its ear that Do-hyun had not noticed before. It was a translator module, like the one he wore. It must have been turned off or broken during the chaos. He reached out carefully and touched it. The cub held very still, trusting him. He found a small button and pressed it. The device made a soft sound. A light turned on. The cub opened its mouth, and this time words came out. Small words, simple words, translated into human language. Where? Mother? Do-hyun felt his throat get tight. He had to take a breath before he could answer. She's on a ship, he said. A safe ship, flying through space. She's looking for you right now. And we're going to find her. The cub's ears moved forward a little. She looking? Yes, I promise. She's looking for you. Why'd she leave? This was the hard question. How do you explain to a child that their mother did not mean to leave them? How do you explain chaos and fear and impossible choices? There was a big emergency, Do-hyun said slowly. Everyone had to run very fast. Your mother thought you were with her. She did not know you got lost. But when she finds out, she will come back for you. She will never stop looking. The cub was quiet for a moment. Then it asked another question, smaller than the first. You stay? Do-hyun looked at this tiny creature, this lost child from another world. He thought about everything he had given up. The transport, his unit, his safety. He thought about the Keth coming, about what would happen if no one came to save them. None of that mattered. I stay, he said. The cub's whole body relaxed. It crawled across the blankets and climbed into his lap, curling up against his chest like it belonged there. Like this was the safest place in the universe. I need to call you something. Do-hyun said. A name. Do you have a name? The cub made a sound that the translator could not handle. It was too complicated, too full of Valari sounds that human mouths could not make. Okay, Do-hyun said. How about I give you a nickname? Something easy. Something human. He thought about it. He remembered his grandmother's house back in Korea. He remembered sitting at her table, drinking warm barley tea while she told him stories. The tea was called Boricha. It was golden and sweet, and it always made him feel safe. Bori, he said. I'll call you Bori. Is that okay? The cub looked up at him. Bori, it repeated. That's you. Bori is me. Yes. The cub settled back against his chest. Bori-like. They sat together in the darkness of the basement. Above them, the colony was silent and empty. Far away in space, the Keth swarm was getting closer with every minute. In maybe 15 hours, this world would be consumed. But right now, in this small basement, a human soldier and an alien cub were together. They were not alone. They had each other. Do-hyun started to hum. It was a song his mother used to sing to him when he was small. A lullaby about the moon and a rabbit. The words were Korean, and Bori could not understand them. But the cub listened anyway. Its breathing slowed. Its body relaxed. Sleep, little one, Do-hyun whispered. I'll keep watch. Nothing is going to hurt you. I promise. Bori's 3 eyes slowly closed. Within minutes, the cub was asleep, warm and safe in Do-hyun's arms. He did not sleep that night. He sat in the darkness, holding the cub, listening for any sound of danger. He watched the motion sensors. He checked his rifle. He planned and he worried and he hoped, but he did not regret his choice. Not for 1 second. This was what he was supposed to do. This was why he became a soldier. Not to fight wars. Not to kill enemies. But to protect people who could not protect themselves, even if they were small. Even if they were alien. Even if saving them meant dying. Bori made a small sound in its sleep. A happy sound. Do-hyun smiled in the darkness. Whatever came next, they would face it together. On the third day, the sky turned black. Do-hyun was checking the water supplies when Bori made a frightened sound. The cub had been playing with some empty containers, stacking them and knocking them down. It was the first time since the evacuation that Bori had done anything like playing. Do-hyun had been happy to see it, but now the cub was pointing at the small security screen that Do-hyun had set up to watch the outside world. He looked at the screen. His blood went cold. The Keth had arrived. They came from the sky like a living cloud. Billions of them. Each creature was small, about the size of a human hand, with hard shells and sharp legs and mouths that never stopped moving. Alone, one Keth was nothing. A human could kill it with a single step, but they were never alone. They moved together, thought together, hunted together. The swarm was one giant creature made of billions of tiny parts. And that creature was hungry. Always hungry. Do-hyun watched as the swarm descended on the colony. They covered everything. Buildings disappeared under moving waves of black and brown bodies. The beautiful white stone of the Valari structures was eaten away in minutes. Gardens that had taken years to grow were consumed in seconds. The sound was the worst part. It came through the walls of the basement, soft but horrible. It sounded like rain, like millions of tiny feet running, like teeth biting into everything. Don't look, Do-hyun said, pulling Bori away from the screen. Come here. Don't look at that. But Bori had already seen. The cub's eyes were wide with terror. Its whole body was shaking again, like it had been shaking when Do-hyun first found it. Bad things? Bori asked in a small voice. Do-hyun picked up the cub and held it close. Yes, bad things. But they are not going to find us. I promise you, Bori. They are not going to find us. He carried the cub to the far corner of the basement, the corner farthest from any wall or door. He had prepared for this moment. He had done everything he could think of. Thermal blankets covered every surface around them. These special blankets blocked heat signals. The Keth could sense heat. They could find living creatures by feeling the warmth of their bodies. But with the blankets around them, Do-hyun and Bori would be invisible. He had sealed every crack, every hole, every tiny gap in the walls. The Keth could squeeze through spaces that seemed impossible. He had to make sure there was no way in. He had turned off every electronic device except the motion sensors. The Keth were attracted to energy signals. The basement had to be dark and silent and cold. Now there was nothing to do but wait. The sound of the swarm got louder. They were close now. They were on the streets above the basement. Do-hyun could hear them moving across the ceiling, could hear their tiny legs scraping against the stone. Bori buried its face against his chest. The cub was trying not to cry, trying to be brave. But it was just a child, a baby. It should not have to be brave. It's okay, Do-hyun whispered. I've got you. Close your eyes. Think about something happy. Think about your mother. Think about her warm fur and her soft voice. Bori was shaking so hard that Do-hyun could feel it in his own bones. He held the cup tighter. The sound was directly above them now. The swarm was on top of the community center. They were looking for food. They were looking for anything alive. Do-hyun held his breath. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest. Every muscle in his body was tense. His rifle was beside him, ready to go grab if needed. But he knew the truth. If the Keth found them, a rifle would not save them. Nothing would save them. Seconds passed. They felt like hours. The scraping sounds moved across the ceiling. Left to right. Right to left. The swarm was searching, testing, sensing. Bor, I whimpered. The sound was tiny, almost silent. But in the quiet of the basement, it felt as loud as a scream. Do-hyun clamped his hand gently over the cub's mouth. He breathed. Not a sound. Not one sound. Bori's eyes were wet with tears. But the cub went silent. It understood. Even though it was just a baby, it understood that their lives depended on silence. The scraping stopped. Do-hyun's heart stopped with it. He stared at the ceiling, not breathing, not moving. Were they listening? Had they heard Bori's whimper? Were they about to come crashing through the walls? Nothing happened. Then the scraping started again, moving away now. Moving to another part of the building. Moving on. Do-hyun let out his breath slowly. But he did not relax. The swarm was still above them. They would be above them for hours, maybe days. Every moment was dangerous. Every sound could be their last dot. He started to hum dot. It was the same lullaby he had hummed on the first night. The song about the moon and the rabbit. His mother's song. He hummed it so quietly that he could barely hear it himself. But Bori could feel the vibration in his chest. The cub pressed closer, listening. The song helped. Do-hyun could feel Bori's shaking start to slow. The cub's breathing became more steady. Its tight muscles began to loosen. He kept humming. He hummed the same song over and over, a quiet loop of comfort in the middle of horror. Hours passed. The sounds of the swarm came and went. Sometimes they were close, scraping just above the basement. Sometimes they were far away, consuming other parts of the colony. Do-hyun never stopped humming. He never let go of Bori. The cub fell asleep eventually. Its body went limp in his arms, exhausted by fear. Do-hyun kept holding it. He kept humming. He kept watch. He thought about Earth. He thought about his family. His parents did not know where he was. His sister did not know he was trapped on a dying planet. They probably thought he was on the transport, safe and sound. They would not learn the truth until it was too late. He wondered if he would ever see them again. Then he looked down at the sleeping cub in his arms. Bori's face was peaceful now. The fear was gone, replaced by trust. This little creature trusted him completely, believed he would keep it safe. He would not break that trust. No matter what happened. 6 hours later, the sounds finally stopped. The swarm had moved on, spreading across the rest of the planet, looking for more things to consume. The basement was silent again. Do-Hyun did not move. He waited another hour, then another. He had to be sure. The Keth sometimes left scouts behind, individual creatures that stayed in cleared areas to catch anything they might have missed. Finally, when he was certain, he allowed himself to breathe normally again. Bori woke up slowly. The cub blinked its 3 eyes and looked around the basement, then up at Do-Hyun. "That thing's gone?" it asked. "For now," Do-Hyun said. "They might come back, but for now, they're gone." Bori's ears went forward. "You keep safe. Like you say, I told you I would." The cub reached up and touched his face with one soft paw. The touch was gentle, warm, full of trust. "Bori love," the cub said. It was learning more words now, picking up human language quickly. "Bori love you." Do-Hyun felt tears in his eyes. He had not cried since he was a child. But this moment, this small alien creature saying those words, broke something inside him. "I love you too, Bori," he whispered. "And I'm going to get you home. I promise." They sat together in the darkness, waiting for whatever came next. Outside, the world was dead and eaten. Above them, the sky was full of monsters, but in the small basement, there was love. There was hope. There was a human who would not give up, and that was enough. Day 7. The food was almost gone. Do-Hyun counted the rations again, hoping he had made a mistake. He had not. They had enough water for 2 more days. Enough nutrient paste for Bori to eat for maybe 3 days. After that, nothing. The swarm had moved on, spreading across the planet to consume everything else. But they had left the colony destroyed. The beautiful white buildings were now piles of gray dust. The gardens were gone. There was nothing left on the surface except ruins and silence. Do-Hyun had tried to go outside twice. Both times, he had found Keth scouts waiting. Small groups of the creatures left behind to catch survivors. He had killed them, but more always came. The surface was not safe. Bori was playing with the empty food containers again. The cub had gotten better over the past few days. It smiled now. It laughed sometimes, a chirping sound that made Do-Hyun's heart warm. It had started calling him special names in its own language, words that the translator turned into something like protector or safe one. But the cub was also getting thinner. Do-Hyun could feel its ribs through its soft fur. Cubs needed to eat a lot to grow properly. Bori was not getting enough, that he needed help. He needed it soon. On the 2nd day after the swarm passed, Do-Hyun had managed to repair his communicator. He had sent a signal to any Terran ships that might be in the system. For 3 days, he had received nothing but static. Then, on day 6, a voice came through. "This is the Terran destroyer Indomitable. We are receiving your signal. Please identify yourself." Do-Hyun had nearly cried with relief. "This is Corporal Park Do-Hyun, 42nd Terran Expeditionary Force. I am trapped on Horizon 7 with a Valari civilian. We need immediate extraction." There was a long pause. Then a woman's voice came through. It was strong and clear and very angry. "Corporal, this is Captain Yun Jian of the Indomitable. I just read your file. You disobeyed direct orders and missed your extraction transport. You want to explain that to me?" Do-Hyun took a breath. "Ma'am, there was a child, a Valari cub. It was left behind during the evacuation. I could not leave it to die. Another pause. When the captain spoke again, her voice was different, softer. A child? Yes, ma'am. Its name is Bori. At least, that's what I call it. It's been with me for 6 days. It's scared and hungry, and it misses its mother. But it's alive. I kept it alive. He heard the captain talking to someone else. Then she came back. Corporal, I have a Valari delegation screaming at me right now. They say one of their cubs was lost in the evacuation. The mother she's not doing well. She has been looking at space maps for days, trying to figure out where her child might be. Do-yoon felt his throat tighten. Tell her Bori is alive. Tell her I have her cub. Bori? It's what the cub responds to now. They chose the name. Captain Yun was quiet for a moment. Then she laughed. It was a surprise laugh, the kind that comes out when you don't expect it. All right, Corporal? Dropship incoming. 8 to 2 hours. Don't die before then. Wasn't planning on it, ma'am. 2 hours. They just had to survive 2 more hours. But the Keth had other plans. 1 hour before the dropship was supposed to arrive, Do-hyun's motion sensors went crazy. Red lights everywhere. Something was coming. He grabbed his rifle and looked at the security screen. His blood went cold. Scouts, at least 50 of them, moving toward the community center. They had found something. Maybe a heat signal. Maybe a sound. Maybe just bad luck. They were coming. Do-hyun turned to Bori. The cub was watching him with those 3 big eyes. It knew something was wrong. Bori, I need you to hide, Do-hyun said. He kept his voice calm even though his heart was racing. Right here, under these blankets. I'm gonna pile them on top of you. Don't come out until I come back. Do you understand? The cub grabbed his hand. You stay. I can't stay. Not this time. I need to go stop the bad things from coming in here. But I will come back. I promise. You promise? I promise. He wrapped Bori in the thermal blankets, covering the cub completely. Then he piled more blankets on top, hiding Bori from sight and from heat sensors. Don't move, he said. Don't make a sound. I'll be back soon. Then he left the basement. He sealed the door behind him, and he went to fight. The scouts found him in the ruins of a Valari temple, 3 streets away from the community center. He had led them there on purpose. He wanted them far from Bori. If he was going to die, he would die somewhere else. Somewhere that would not put the cub in danger. He killed the first one with a single shot. It exploded in a spray of brown shell and green liquid. The second and third went down just as fast. His aim was perfect. His hands were steady, but there were so many of them. They came from everywhere. From the ruins, from the ground, from holes in the walls. More than 50 now, maybe 100. He had not seen them all on the sensors. Do-hyun backed into a corner. He kept shooting. Every shot hit its target. Every shot killed a scout. But they kept coming. 20 rounds left. 15. 10. One of them got close enough to scratch his arm. Pain burned through him. He shot it point blank and kicked the body away. 5 rounds left. Another one jumped at his face. He smashed it with the butt of his rifle. It fell apart, but more took its place. 2 rounds left. He was going to die here. He knew it now. There were too many of them. He could not kill them all. But he had kept his promise. He had led them away from Bori. The cub was safe. The dropship would come. Someone would find Bori in the basement. Someone would take the cub home to its mother. That was enough. That was worth dying for. 1 round left. He raised his rifle for his final shot, and then the sky exploded. The dropship came screaming down from above. Its guns blazed with white-hot fire. Keth scouts flew apart in all directions. The sound was deafening, a roar of engines and weapons that shook the ground. A voice came through his communicator. Corporal Park, this is Sergeant Choi Yoonji. Get your stupid, heroic backside on this ship right now. Do-hyun laughed. He could not help it. He laughed as the dropship landed in front of him. He laughed as the door opened and a woman in combat armor reached out to pull him inside. He laughed as the ship lifted off, leaving the burning scouts behind. "Where's the kid?" Sergeant Choi demanded. "Basement. Community center. Hurry." The pilot changed course. The dropship flew over the destroyed colony, searching. The sensors found the community center, or what was left of it. They landed in the street outside. Do-hyun tried to stand, but his legs were weak. Blood was dripping from the scratch on his arm. He did not care. "I'll get the kid," Sergeant Choi said. "You stay here and don't die." She was gone for 3 minutes. The longest 3 minutes of Do-hyun's life. Then she came back, carrying a bundle of blankets. The bundle was moving. The bundle was making chirping sounds. "Bori," Do-hyun breathed. The sergeant set the bundle in his lap. The blankets fell away. And there was Bori, looking up at him with 3 wide eyes. "You came back," the cub said. "You came back." Do-hyun held the cub close. Tears were running down his face. He did not try to stop them. "I told you I would." The dropship flew up into the sky, leaving the dead planet behind. They were going home. They were going to be okay. Bori fell asleep in his arms before they reached the Indomitable. The cub was smiling. Even in sleep, it was smiling. Do-hyun smiled too. For the first time in 7 days, he let himself believe that everything was going to be all right. The Terran destroyer Indomitable was huge. It was bigger than any ship Do-hyun had ever been on. Its hulls were wide and clean. Its crew moved with purpose and discipline. It was a warship, built to fight and win battles across the stars. But today, it was something else. Today, it was a place for reunions. Do-hyun sat in the medical bay while a doctor treated his wounds. The scratch from the Kethscan was not serious, but it needed cleaning and medicine. The doctor was gentle and quick. Bori sat on the bed beside him. The cub had refused to leave his side since the rescue. Every time someone tried to take Bori to another room, the cub started crying and calling for Do-hyun. So they stopped trying. They let the cub stay. Captain Yun Ji-yeon came to visit while the doctor worked. She was a tall woman with short gray hair and sharp eyes. Her face was stern, but her voice was kind. "Corporal Park," she said, "you disobeyed direct orders. You missed your extraction. You stayed on a planet that was about to be consumed by the Keth." Do-hyun looked at her. "Yes, ma'am. I did. You could have died. I know." The captain looked at Bori. The cub was holding Do-hyun's hand, its 3 eyes watching her carefully. "Was it worth it?" she asked. Do-hyun did not need to think about his answer. "Yes, ma'am." "It was." Captain Yun smiled. It changed her whole face, making her look younger and softer. "Good answer, Corporal. The Valari diplomatic vessel Grace of Stars is beside us. They sent a delegation. The cub's mother is with them." Bori's ears went straight up. "Mother?" "Yes, little one," the captain said gently. "Your mother is here. She has been looking for you since the evacuation." She never stopped looking. Bori started shaking. But this time, it was not fear. It was excitement, joy, hope. "Mother come?" The cub asked Do-hyun. "Mother really come?" Do-hyun felt tears in his eyes again. He seemed to cry easily now. 7 days of being strong had used up all his resistance. "She's coming right now," he said. "She'll be here any minute." The doors to the medical bay opened. And there she was. The cub's mother was named Laya. She was tall for a Valari, with deep blue fur and 3 eyes that were wet with tears. She wore the formal robes of a Valari counselor, a position of great respect in her society. But right now, she was not a counselor. She was just a mother who had lost her child. She stood in the doorway, frozen. Her eyes found Bori. Her whole body trembled. "Bori," she breathed. The word came out broken, full of pain and love and relief. "Mother!" Bori jumped off the bed and ran across the room. Leah fell to her knees and caught her cub in her arms. She held Bori so tight that Do-hyun worried she might hurt the little one. But Bori did not care. The cub was crying now, making those chirping sounds mixed with words in its own language, words that needed no translation. Leah rocked her child back and forth, pressing her face into that silver-blue fur. She was making sounds too, deep and musical, a mother's song for her lost cub. Do-hyun watched them. His heart was so full it hurt. This was why he had stayed. This was why he had risked everything. For this moment, for this reunion, he stood up quietly. His job was done. The cub was safe. The cub was home. He should leave them alone now. But Leah looked up. Her eyes found him, and she stood, still holding Bori, and walked toward him. Do-hyun did not know what to expect. A thank you, maybe. A formal expression of gratitude from one species to another. What he got was different. Leah stopped in front of him. She looked into his eyes for a long moment. Then she leaned forward and pressed her forehead against his dot. The room went silent. Every Terran officer present stopped moving. This gesture meant something. Something important. Captain Yun spoke quietly to one of her officers. "What is she doing?" The officer checked a cultural database. "It's called the Touch of Souls. The Valari only do it with family members, or with someone who has saved a life at great personal cost. It means she considers him one of her own now." Leah pulled back. Her eyes were still wet, but she was smiling. "The galaxy speaks of humanity as warriors," she said. Her voice was clear and strong. "They tell stories of your armies, your weapons, your terrible power in battle. They fear you. Many species fear you." She touched Do-hyun's face with one soft paw, the same way Bori had touched him in the basement. "But they do not speak enough of what you truly are," she continued. "They do not understand your hearts. And what are we?" Captain Yun asked from the doorway. Her voice was curious, not challenging. Leah looked at her. Then she looked back at Do-hyun. Then she looked down at Bori. The cub she had thought was lost forever. "Protectors," she said simply. "Protectors of any who cannot protect themselves. It does not matter if they are human or Valari or something else entirely. If they are weak, if they are young, if they are afraid, humans will stand beside them, even if it costs them everything." Bori reached out and touched Do-hyun's hand. "He stayed," the cub said to its mother. "Bad things came. Bad things came. Scary things." "He stayed," Leah nodded. Fresh tears rolled down her fur. "Yes, he stayed." The news spread fast. Within a week, every major species in the galaxy had heard the story. A single human soldier, alone on a dying world, sheltering an alien child against the Keth swarm. The Valari told it first, but others repeated it. The story grew with each telling. Some versions were exaggerated. They said Do-hyun had killed 1,000 Keth. They said he had fought for days without rest. They said he had faced down the entire swarm with nothing but a knife. The truth was simpler and more powerful. A human had found a lost child. He had refused to leave it behind. He had protected it with his life. That was all. That was everything. The Valari Consortium had been neutral in galactic politics for centuries. They did not take sides. They did not make alliances. They stayed apart from the conflicts between species. 1 month after the rescue, they formally requested an alliance with the Terran coalition. When the other species asked why, the Valari ambassador gave a simple answer. "We have seen the heart of humanity. We want to stand beside it." 6 months later, Do-hyun received a package at his parents' home in Korea. He was on leave, spending time with his family. His nephew was bigger now, walking and talking and getting into everything. Do-hyun loved watching him play. The package came from the Valari homeworld. Inside was a painting. It was done in the traditional Valari style, with colors that seemed to glow from within. The image showed a human soldier in battered armor, sitting in a dark basement. In his arms was a silver-blue cub, small and soft and peaceful. The soldier was looking down at the cub with an expression of pure love and determination. At the bottom of the painting, in both Valari script and human letters, were two words: "You stayed." Do-hyun hung the painting in his room. He looked at it every day. And every day, he remembered. He remembered the fear. He remembered the long nights. He remembered the sound of the swarm passing overhead. He remembered holding a tiny trembling creature and promising that everything would be okay. Most of all, he remembered the moment Bori had looked up at him with those three big eyes and asked the question that changed everything. "You stay?" "I stay." That was what it meant to be human. Not the wars. Not the weapons. Not the terrible power that made other species afraid. It was simpler than that. Older than that. More important than that. When someone was scared, you stayed with them. When someone was lost, you found them. When someone was in danger, you protected them. No matter the cost. No matter the risk. No matter if they were like you or different from you or strange. Beyond understanding. You stayed. And that made all the difference.